Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Kaitlin Marie Armstrong? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put a link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case. I'll move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. In May of 2022, 34-year-old Kaitlin Marie Armstrong lived in Austin, Texas. She was a real estate agent and yoga teacher. Kaitlin was involved in a romantic relationship with a 35-year-old professional cyclist named Colin Strickland. The couple had been together for 3 years, but they separated for 1 or 2 weeks in October of 2021. During this window of time, Colin had a romantic relationship with another professional cyclist named Mariah Wilson, who went by the name Mariah or Mo. She lived in San Francisco. On May 10, 25-year-old Mariah flew to Austin for a bicycle race that was taking place in Rica, Texas, a city that's about 2.5 hours north of Austin. Mariah was picked up at the airport by a friend of hers and was staying at that friend's residence on Maple Avenue in Austin. The residence was an apartment over the garage of a house. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On May 11, 2022, at about 9:56 p.m., the police responded to the friend's residence after the friend called 911. There they found Mariah Wilson on the floor of the residence. She had been shot several times. Mariah was pronounced dead at 10:10 p.m. Here's what the police uncovered during their investigation. Spent 9mm cases were on the floor near Mariah's body. Mariah Wilson's bicycle was found in thick bamboo about 68 feet away from the residence. Mariah had told her friend that she was going to go swimming with Colin Strickland. According to data from an electronic lock, Mariah left at 5:55 p.m. and returned to the residence at 8:36 p.m. A surveillance camera mounted on a nearby residence captured a dark-colored SUV driving past the residence at 8:37 p.m. It slowed down and appeared to come to a stop directly next to the residence. The vehicle had a bicycle rack mounted on a trailer hitch, a luggage rack mounted on the roof, and chrome around the windows. The police found a 2012 Jeep Grand Cherokee with those same features at the address occupied by Kaitlin Armstrong and Colin Strickland. The police spoke to Colin. He told them that he had briefly dated Mariah Wilson. He made it sound as though Kaitlin wasn't too happy about this relationship with Mariah. Kaitlin blocked Mariah's number in Colin's phone, which prompted Colin to change Mariah's name in his phone and delete text messages from Mariah. Colin said that he picked up Mariah on his motorcycle at about 5:45 p.m., which is close to the time indicated by the electronic lock. They went to a pool located in Austin and then ate dinner. After this, he dropped Mariah off at the Maple Avenue residence and drove away without going in. He stopped his motorcycle and sent a text message to Kaitlin at 8:36 p.m. The message read, "Hey, are you out? I went to drop some flowers for Allison at her son's house up north and my phone died. Heading home unless you have another food suggestion." Colin admitted to the police that he lied to Kaitlin to conceal the fact that he had been with Mariah. I don't know if Colin is actually good at riding a bicycle, but he sure knows how to backpedal. Colin arrived back at his residence and sent another text message at 9:21 p.m. He said that Kaitlin pulled up in the 2012 Jeep Grand Cherokee a few minutes later. Colin told the police that Mariah may have been the best female cyclist in the entire world. He described Kaitlin as a participant in bicycle races, whereas he described himself as a racer. In the past, he told Kaitlin that she didn't need to ride with him because she held him back. He said that between December 2021 and January 2022, he purchased 2 pistols, one for him and one for Kaitlin. The pistol for Kaitlin was a Sig Sauer P365. This semi-automatic pistol is chambered in 9mm. It is designed for concealed carry and is typically used in conjunction with a 10 or 12-round magazine. The designation P365 is because it's designed to be carried 365 days a year. As it turns out, Kaitlyn already had a warrant out for her arrest for something unrelated. She was placed under arrest, but then the police discovered that the warrant was not valid. Kaitlyn was informed that she was free to leave. She proceeded to answer a few questions anyway. She said that Colin told her that a woman in the cycling community had passed away. She made it seem as if that's all she knew about the situation. The police showed her the video of the Jeep Grand Cherokee in front of the residence where Mariah was staying. Kaitlyn offered no explanations and did not appear to deny what the police were suggesting. When confronted with the fact that Colin went out with Mariah on May 11, Kaitlyn said she didn't have any idea that Colin saw Mariah recently. Kaitlyn nodded her head when a detective suggested that maybe she was upset and just happened to be in the area. She also nodded her head when the police talked about how Colin's statements combined with the video of her vehicle did not make things look too good for her. At this point, Kaitlyn requested to leave and was permitted to do so. The interview was terminated. On May 13, the police contacted a friend of Mariah's who said that Mariah and Colin had an on-again, off-again relationship, which of course is different than how Colin characterized it. The friend said that Kaitlyn had warned Mariah that she, meaning Kaitlyn, was Colin's partner and that Mariah needed to stay away from him. On May 14, the police received an anonymous call from someone who claimed that Kaitlyn discovered the relationship between Colin and Mariah in January of 2022. According to the caller, Kaitlyn became furious and was shaking in anger. She said that she was so angry she wanted to kill Mariah, and she mentioned the purchase of the firearm. As the investigation was going on, Kaitlyn was staying busy. On May 13, Kaitlyn sold her Jeep Grand Cherokee to a CarMax dealership for $12,200. On May 14, she boarded a flight from Austin to Houston. She then took a flight to LaGuardia Airport in New York City. On May 18, which was one day after a warrant was issued for her arrest, she was spotted at Newark Liberty International Airport in New Jersey. She used a fraudulent passport to board a flight to Costa Rica. She was captured there on June 29, 2022. At the time making this video, she is still facing the charge of first-degree murder. Now moving to my analysis. Was Kaitlin Armstrong responsible for the murder of Mariah Wilson? She maintains the presumption of innocence, but clearly the state believes that she was guilty. Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that Kaitlyn was guilty. It's worth noting that this case is in the early stages, so more evidence may become available later. I will start with the inculpatory evidence. Colin Strickland appeared to be having some type of relationship with Mariah Wilson. He had been making efforts to keep Kaitlyn from finding out. This supplied Kaitlyn with a motive to commit homicide. Kaitlyn allegedly made statements that she wanted to kill Mariah, although an anonymous caller is not a credible source. Mariah was shot multiple times with a 9mm pistol. Kaitlyn recently acquired a 9mm pistol. There are no reports of forced entry or anything being stolen. It appears as though the assailant specifically carried out the attack to kill Mariah. This makes the motive seem personal. Kaitlyn's vehicle, or one just like it, was captured on video at the residence where Mariah was staying right around the time she was killed. After being questioned by the police, Kaitlyn sold her vehicle, obtained a fraudulent passport, and decided to take a trip to Costa Rica. Colin Strickland has an alibi for the time when Mariah was killed. Video captured him on a motorcycle about 8 miles away, just a few minutes after the earliest time the murder could have occurred. Moving to the exculpatory evidence, there are no witnesses to the murder, no video. Kaitlyn's pistol may not be the murder weapon. The police don't know for sure if it was. There is no physical evidence connecting Kaitlyn to the murder. No blood, no DNA, and no gunshot residue. When considering the evidence that's available right now, do I believe that Kaitlin Armstrong is guilty? Yes. In my opinion, she is guilty in reality and guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Other than her vehicle being spotted where the murder occurred, it's very suspicious that she traveled to Costa Rica using a fraudulent passport, and that this trip was spontaneous. Now moving to my thoughts on a few items that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. How did Kaitlyn obtain a fraudulent passport? Even though she allegedly committed premeditated murder, one would think that she would have fled immediately if she had already purchased a fake passport. This makes it seem as though she purchased the fake passport afterward. I searched online for fraudulent passports, and apparently they're fairly easy to get. They cost as little as $1,000 or as much as $15,000. Some of the websites say that the passports are for entertainment purposes only. That seems believable. Frequently, when people are bored, they say things like, "Let's go out and watch a movie, get dinner, and then grab some fake passports to really cap off a fun evening." Other websites say that whoever buys the passports must promise not to use them for anything illegal, which is curious considering that even possessing a fake passport is illegal. Maybe they mean the buyer must promise not to do anything else illegal. Item number 2. The status of the relationship between Colin Strickland and Mariah Wilson is a bit murky. In January of 2022, Mariah Wilson sent a text message to Colin Strickland. Here's what she wrote. I corrected it for grammar just a little bit. Hey, I would like to talk to you at some point. I originally texted you on Friday, but it appears my texts are not going through again. This weekend was strange for me, and I just want to know what's going on. If you just want to be friends, which seems to be the case, then that's cool. But I would like to talk about it because honestly my mind has been going in circles and I don't know what to think. Colin responded by suggesting that he felt badly for putting Mariah in a position where she didn't feel comfortable. It's almost like Mariah wasn't really sure what Colin was doing, like maybe he was sending mixed signals. I think it is reasonable to believe that he was doing something that violated the expectations of his relationship with Kaitlyn. After all, he lied to Kaitlyn and tried to disguise Mariah's communications. Which brings me to item number 3. In romantic relationships, it is important to be honest. In looking back at all the love triangle murders that I have researched, honesty would have prevented almost all of them. When it comes to romance and sex, sometimes people want everything. They don't want to give up one lover to pursue another, so they start lying to everyone. They think that they can beat the system, like they are the only person in the world who thought of the idea of lying to their partner to have sex with another person. This is a dangerous game that rarely turns out like people expect. Which brings me to my final item, number 4. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. I think that after Colin and Mariah had their brief encounter, the status of that relationship was never settled. Despite Colin disguising his contact with Mariah, Kaitlyn figured it out. Kaitlyn was threatened because Mariah was 9 years younger and had interests which more closely aligned with Colin's. For example, Mariah and Colin were both professional cyclists, whereas Kaitlyn was not as physically fit. At some point, Kaitlyn had enough, and rather than becoming a professional cyclist in order to compete for Colin's affection, she decided to eliminate the competition. Now moving to my final thoughts. Feelings of love and excitement can cloud judgment. Frequently, people who are in positions like Kaitlyn and Mariah were in this story forget that they have a number of romantic options available. It's easy to develop a focus on just one person and work to protect that relationship, even when it doesn't make sense to do so. They forget they are fighting for someone who's not even willing to be honest with them. They would never have accepted a person like that in the beginning of the relationship, but once it's established, there is this sense that they have invested too much to let it go. Sometimes it's better to simply cut one's losses and focus on finding a non-deceptive partner. After all, finding a new relationship is just like riding a bike. Those are my thoughts on the case of Kaitlin Marie Armstrong. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be as intriguing as a bicycle built for 3. Thanks for watching.